Heavy Metal 101, sometime in the not-too-distant future.
What I'm hearing is, you gotta choose my words carefully here. It's pretty straightforward. The narration shit, it's a little stock. So I started trying to introduce some kind of edge to it from the writing.
Those things we throw out at each other are complete bullshit. You know, it sounds too stock. It sounds too normal to me. I mean, you know what I mean? You're saying this shit so you can get your point across about podcasting. I mean, you know, it doesn't hold any water.
To you?
It doesn't.
I think it's fucking stock. Which part of that is unclear to you? I think it sounds stock to my ears. I mean, do you want me to write it down?
Oh, yeah.
I think it feels stock, okay?
When you say, you're telling me what to say right now. You're telling me you should work with what Eric's writing, and I'm telling you it's stock.
Dude, fine.
I mean, we're in shit moods. We're not going to get anything done in today.
And you...
I don't want to pick a fight.
It's so silly. You're just sitting there going, I'm in a really pissy mood,
And what are you trying to do?
I'm not trying to fucking do shit. You're just sitting here being a complete dick.
You're really helping matters. You're really good at that. I was straight up with you, and I told you I'm in a shit mood. And what have you been doing? Fucking picking at me all night. I've got better things to do.
Beautiful, beloved Heavy Metal 101 listeners. Welcome to the grand finale of our 4th season. And John! A hearty welcome to you as well, my stalwart, powerfully masculine co-host. 4 entire seasons of podcasting about heavy metal are quite nearly in the books. How are you feeling about this long, strange trip we've been on thus far?
It's fine. I am concerned that I'm starting to remember things, and I think that bodes ill for the future fate of our podcast, as that kind of defeats the purpose.
Well, if it makes you feel better, things are going to considerably spiral off in season 5 as we get into the heart of the 90s. And a lot of these old guard bands are going to fall to complete and utter disarray. So I think there'll be enough new and confusing information for you that will get you back on track.
And then we're done, right? Like 90s and then metal ended?
Can I get back to you on that?
I suppose.
Regardless, I am very excited about getting started on season 5, but not yet. Not yet. First, we've got some business to attend to. Some heavy fucking metal business. And what could be more important as heavy metal business goes than talking about what Metallica was up to in their final truly glorious period, ranging from the Garage Days Revisited EP through to one of the very biggest albums of all time, the Black Album. John, could literally anything be more important?
So as we record this, the U.S. government is trying to take away the right for married women to vote secretly, and I think that's very problematic. Also, we are deporting people illegally to a prison in El Salvador, and I'm going to a baseball game in a few weeks, so I think all of those things might be higher up on the list.
The answer is nothing. Nothing could be more important. Except actually maybe one thing, which is reminding the kindly listeners about HM101 Patreon ratings and reviews.
Wow.
We got to have priorities.
Wow.
Now, John, could you do that for me real quick?
Sure. 4 seasons in, and Heavy Metal 101 continues to get bigger, badder, and more awesomer. And you, listener, can support this podcast in a variety of ways, including signing up for our Patreon page.
Exclusive content for just $3 a month. Link in the episode notes.
And or by rating and reviewing us wherever you listen to podcasts. Any and all support is very much appreciated. Genuinely, this is not my sarcastic voice.
And we also love hearing from all of you. Please don't hesitate to reach out anytime via email or social media. Those links can be found in ye olden episode notes as well. And now, without further ado, we pick up this story right where we left Metallica the last time we discussed them. Still reeling from the sudden, tragic death of iconic bassist Cliff Burton, but bravely soldiering on nonetheless.
October 2nd, 1986, the Chicago Tribune. Heavy metal band Metallica, described as in a state of shock over the death of bass player Cliff Burton, has cancelled the remainder of its current European tour and put future plans on hold for the moment. Burton, 24, died Saturday morning when the band's tour bus went out of control on slick pavement near Lumdi, Sweden, while en route to a show in Copenhagen. According to band spokesman, the bassist was sleeping in an upper bunk next to a window as the bus slid off the road. The window apparently gave way. Burton was thrown out of the bus, which then tipped over on him, killing him instantly.
Now, according to the band, their first reaction to this terrible tragedy was rage. Of the immediate aftermath, James Hetfield said,
"Coming out and finding your buddy under the bus is not something you want to go through. Our first reaction was anger, one of the things we were good at. Why did this happen? Where's the driver? Let me smell your breath."
Following Burton's funeral, it was Metallica's manager, Peter Mensch, who first suggested that the band should keep going and use their music making as a form of therapy. Upon receiving the blessing of Burton's family, Metallica indeed decided to continue, and that it was time to find a new bassist.
Approximately 40 people auditioned for the role, including Primus bassist Les Claypool, but it was Flotsam and Jetsam bassist Jason Newsted, who, prior to the audition, learned Metallica's entire set list that won the job.
Now, John, you probably don't know this, but Metallica famously were total dicks to Newsted for most of his tenure with the band. For instance, as a sort of early initiation, they got him extremely drunk, then tricked him into eating an entire ball of wasabi. Ugh. Oh, and immediately after that, they ditched him at the very same restaurant, which was in Japan, incidentally, and left him to cover the $500 tab. Not very nice, I would say, no?
No, not very nice, but honestly, not as bad as I was thinking this was going to be.
No! I mean, they don't kill each other and stuff. This isn't black metal. It's the Black Album.
Oh, okay.
In July of 1987, Metallica decided to kick off their new era in style and headed to the studio to record what would come to be known as the $5.98 EP, Garage Days Revisited, a 25-minute collection of covers of songs by some of their favorite bands. Now, John, are you generally a fan of covers?
Ooh, that's hard to say generally, because I think covers are either really, really great new versions of a song or absolute trash. And I do not think there is an in-between. I think there is no such thing as an okay cover.
Ah, so they are ripe with possibility, but that possibility can go drastically awry, is what you're saying.
I think that's fair.
Okay. The unique thing here is that when a band of Metallica's stature covers music by their own comparably obscure heroes, it tends to provide those bands with a pretty extraordinary amount of publicity that they otherwise couldn't possibly hope to get. So that's kind of cool, right?
I believe we call that today the Kelly Clarkson effect.
Ah! Back in 1987, they called it the Metallica effect. Yeah! For the record, the bands covered on Garage Days Revisited included Nawabum's stalwarts Diamond Head, Helpless, and Holocaust, The Small Hours, post-punk superheroes Killing Joke, The Weight, Welsh early metal mavericks Budgie, Crash Course in Brain Surgery, and horror punk icons The Misfits, Last Caress / Green Hell. This was the band's first opportunity to record with their new bassist, and I personally think they knocked it out of the park. Now, John, I included Helpless from this album on your playlist. What did you think of state-of-the-art Metallica circa 1987?
It was interesting. It definitely felt more akin to earlier Metallica, like the more aggressive Metallica,
Absolutely.
particularly having listened to all of the Black Album first and then kind of going back and hearing this, definitely felt like a band in a different place.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. I also think the people that they're paying homage to on this album are all pretty raw and heavy and aggressive artists. So it kind of makes sense that they would put their own spin on it, but still be raw and aggressive and all that. But yeah, I agree with your assessment. I think that's fair. I also think it's a great tune, both the original and Metallica's version. It's a great album. I really, really like Garage Days. It's a very fun collection. One of the truly fascinating things about this EP, when compared with certain full-length albums on the immediate horizon, is how great the bass sounds throughout. Obviously, Metallica were still in a complicated place emotionally when they recorded Garage Days, but there's just like a cathartic joy found in the music making here that I really love. But, delightful as this EP was, Metallica were about to take a really, really, really massive step towards becoming perhaps the single biggest heavy metal band in the history of the entire fucking world.
August 25th, 1988. Metallica release and Justice for All. For all. For all. For all.
John, this may surprise you, but I was once young. Does this surprise you?
I am, in fact, familiar with the passing of time and understand how the concept of aging correlates with this.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, as an 11-year-old budding metalhead in 1988, though I did very much know that Metallica existed, it wasn't until the release of And Justice for All that they really and truly became a central part of my life. How did this happen, you ask? Well,
Metallica's fourth album and first full-length release without Cliff Burton was recorded between January and May of 1988 in Los Angeles. Production credits went to longtime Metallica producer Flemming Rasmussen, as well as
sigh,
James Hetfield and Lars Ulrich.
Those production credits bring us to a very important discussion about certain choices made for And Justice for All. You see, despite being a stone fucking classic of the thrash metal genre, And Justice for All sounds awful. As a reminder, Rasmussen had previously produced the excellent-sounding Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets, and so it seems only fair to look to Hetfield and Ulrich for answers about some of the odd decisions made for this album. For instance, according to Rasmussen,
what happened was the mixing engineers did a mix that they thought sounded really, really good, which had lots of bass in it. And the bass, let me just point out, the bass tracks on And Justice for All are actually fantastic. Jason plays really well. But Hetfield and Ulrich heard the mix and they went, all right, take the bass down, change this, and this, and then take the bass down so you can barely hear it. And then once they've done that, they said, take it another 3 dB down. Why they did that? I have no idea. It could be that they were still grieving about Cliff. I have no idea. But imagine my surprise when I heard the album. I was like, what? I got really criticized when it came out, and people got more or less blown away because of the dryness of the sound. It just goes bang right in your face.
Bang, John. Bang. There is no fucking bass on the album. Now, you heard a couple of Justice tracks on the playlist I provided. Did you have any thoughts about the production?
It is interesting that the bass is definitely not present, but you do hear a lot of bass drum kind of thudding away.
Yeah, there's a lot of drum, all kinds of drum. A lot of drum, a lot of guitar.
Yeah. I don't know. The 2 songs were okay.
We'll get to that momentarily. But regardless of the song quality, I have always hated the way And Justice for All sounds. It's so dry and thin. I really, really like most of the music. I just don't care for the way it was produced. Choices. Definitely choices. Okay, some other notes on And Justice for All. It contained Cliff Burton's final songwriting credit on the penultimate track, To Live Is to Die. There were 3 singles: Harvester of Sorrows, Eye of the Beholder, and, most importantly, One, which became the band's first single to chart in the US, peaking at number 35. One, the song that first brought Metallica really and truly into my life, and the lives of so many others, was based on the 1939 novel Johnny Got His Gun by Dalton Trumbo, and also the 1971 film. John, did you ever either read or see that one?
Sure haven't. I am familiar with that title, but I have not read or seen it.
I actually read the book in college. It's about a soldier who loses his arms, legs, and jaw in a landmine explosion and is left in a hospital blind, deaf, and unable to speak.
SOS. Help me.
It's pretty dark. And Metallica
Sounds like a great time.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's just a good time on wheels. Very comedic. Metallica juxtaposed their music with scenes from the film for the video for the song, which was released in January of 1989. The video, Metallica's first, was a massive MTV hit, and hence was a crucial step in Metallica's quest for world domination. And so, my friend, we are going to pause and watch said classic video. Post landmine agonies and a mournful thrash pseudo-ballad. Does that sound like a fun time or what?
That sounds terrible.
Dear listener, you too can experience the heartrending glory of Metallica's classic song and video by pausing the show, clicking on the link, and watching the absolute horror unfold before your very eyes. Do that, and we will be back with you on the other side. John, what did you think of that?
That was interesting. I don't think it made me like the song more.
So did you not like One?
So here's the thing. I like One. My problem with One is the fact that it is, in fact, so popular that I'm just tired of it.
Okay. I feel like this is the first time I've ever come across that sentiment from you.
I have heard this song so many times. I imagine that it is impossible for people to exist in this world without hearing this song because I do not seek out this music, and it is still something that I have heard over and over and over. And it was interesting watching the music video for the first time because something that I have felt about this song is that it was 2 songs mushed together, and the music video helped make them make more sense as a related A and B in a way that was not the case just listening to the song. But I don't want to have to watch a video to enjoy the song.
I mean, it's definitely a Metallica ballad, a specialite, binary form where you have like the slow portion of the song and then basically completely unrelated, maybe not completely, but a very different B section.
Right. And the slow A, I don't dislike the slow beginning. It's not as compelling to me as the ending of the song.
I get that. I mean, I would agree with that. I really like the beginning. It's not fade to black level extraordinary, which is probably my favorite of the Metallica ballads, but it's still really, really good. But yeah, I mean, the ending part is ridiculously great. I mean, it's, I think, one of Metallica's finest moments. Incredible solo, great, powerful driving drums. Like everything about that, the ending is amazing, I think.
Sure.
Are you feeling emotional? Do you need to pause for a minute and just like think,
No, it's fine.
stare off into the distance? Well, now that I have you talking about this, so the other song I put on your rather short mix, because our primary focus is something that we're going to discuss momentarily, was Blackened, the opening track. So just out of curiosity, what did you think of that track from And Justice for All?
Meh.
Fuck you! Really?
Yeah, I didn't dislike it. It just didn't do anything for me.
Oh.
It just sort of was. There were developmental musical moments that I appreciated from a structure point of view, and that it wasn't just repetitive and overly long, but it also just wasn't particularly interesting to me.
Stupid! Stupid! Stupid!
I mean, I think Blackened personally is one of Metallica's best songs, but one of the things I wanted to convey with that song about And Justice for All writ large is it's a very progressive album. I mean, you can hear there's so much information in that track. There's so many time changes. It's just Metallica at their most technical as musicians. And it's one of the reasons that the album that followed sounds the way it does. But this is definitely peak prog Metallica. And you hear that really on Blackened. Which you apparently don't like because you're stupid.
Well, we know this about me, though.
You don't like good music?
When we last talked about this band, I liked the first album more than anything else.
Oh, yeah, that's true. You're so weird. The hell, dude? Regardless, what we get here on And Justice for All is Metallica at the height of their thrash metal powers. And Justice for All, as a totality, it's an excellent album. It's got uber classics, including one, Blackened, and also the nearly 10-minute title track, which I did want to put on your mix, but I figured I'd be pushing it with a 10-minute track on top of a complete album. So I didn't, but you should listen to that. You should really listen to And Justice for All. It's a great album. It is an album not to be missed. And many people didn't miss this album. While bigger things were on the horizon, And Justice for All, despite its famously shitty production, hit number 4 on the UK album charts and number 6 in the US. It eventually managed to get certified 8 times platinum, which implies a lot of fucking albums sold. But, John,
Yes.
this was all just a mere appetizer, an amuse-bouche, if you will. Now it's time for the entree, the proverbial meat and potatoes. John boy, are you ready to discuss the Black Album?
Sure.
Alrighty then. Let's discuss the story of the Black.
Metallica completed the 5th and final leg of their Damaged Justice tour, supporting And Justice for All, in October of 1989. Following a much-needed 9 months off, the band reassembled in the summer of 1990 to begin working on the material for their next album. Their primary source of inspiration? The riff tape. This was a collection of riffs written and recorded by various members of the band over the course of the Damaged Justice tour, and riff number 1 on that tape, courtesy of guitarist Kirk Hammett, sounded something like this.
John, are you, perchance, familiar with a little song called Enter Sandman?
I sure am.
I thought you might be. What are your thoughts on Enter Sandman?
That was a fun song. I like this one.
I mean, you say you've heard one a lot. I mean, Enter fucking Sandman.
Yeah, probably Sandman more. Yeah.
Well, Enter Sandman would, of course, become the opening song on the Black Album, as well as its first single. It was released as a single on July 29th, 1991, 2 weeks prior to the release of the album itself. It has since, of course, become one of the most iconic, omnipresent rock songs ever written. And personally, I could very happily go the rest of my life without ever hearing Enter Sandman ever again. But that isn't because it isn't excellent. It's just very, very overplayed. Actually, thinking back to shortly after the release of this song brings up an interesting personal memory for me, which I believe illustrates something about something Metallica and the Black Album. John, would you like to hear my interesting memory?
I mean, I was all set to say yes until you phrased it as, would you like to hear my interesting memory? And I can fully think of nothing I'd like to hear less than someone's self-described interesting memory.
You want to go look at my scrapbooks?
Jesus Christ.
You're going to love it. You're going to love it. It'll be brief. I'm a showman, if nothing else. I swear, I'll keep it short and sweet. I recall a sunny afternoon many moons ago when I was sitting and watching MTV while simultaneously chatting with my lovely mother. When the shiny new video for Enter Sandman came on the TV, I got excited and told my mom to listen, as this here was an example of this particularly heavy, challenging, and cool species of heavy metal called thrash. And she listened, politely, for a minute or two. And then she turned to me and said, "It's very nice, but I don't really hear any noticeable difference between this and most of the other rock music you listen to." And you know what, John?
What?
She was right! Ma Schwartz hit the nail on the head. This was and is a great song, but with it, we were introduced to a very different, much less thorny and thrashy Metallica. Mama Schwartz, always so insightful. That wasn't so bad, now was it?
No.
Okay, John, why don't you tell us a bit more about Enter Sandman via that silky smooth narrator voice?
As previously mentioned, Enter Sandman was based on a Kirk Hammett riff, and the music is credited to Hammett, drummer Lars Ulrich, and guitarist-vocalist James Hetfield, who also penned the lyrics. Enter Sandman certified platinum as a single and peaked at number 16 on the US Billboard charts. However, it almost was neither the first single nor the album's opening track. Producer Bob Rock and most of the band originally felt that the track Holier Than Thou should get that honor. However, Lars argued fervently for Enter Sandman, and eventually won the day, paving the way for the Black Album to debut at number 1 on the US Billboard charts.
Now look, Enter Sandman is indeed a certified banger, but I simply cannot bring myself to have an Enter Sandman listening break. I can't do it. If you, dear listener, don't know that song, you're going to need to get your shit together. Also, you should probably pause the podcast and go somewhere and take a listen. We will wait for you. Meanwhile, back to the story. Story.
According to Lars Ulrich,
we felt it was time to make a record with a huge, big, fat, low end, and the best sounding record like that in the last couple of years was Motley Crue's Dr. Feelgood. So we told our manager, call this guy and see if he wants to mix the record.
Enter Bob Rock.
Robert Jens Rock, prior to becoming the proverbial fifth member of Metallica, made his bones working as an engineer and mixer under super producer Bruce Fairbairn, helping to create pop metal mega hits including Bon Jovi's Slippery When Wet and New Jersey and Aerosmith's Permanent Vacation. In 1989, he produced a mega hit of his own, working with Motley Crue on their aforementioned 6x platinum Dr. Feelgood album.
John! At this point, we have the whole team together. So let's us be extremely clear about things and call out the official Black Album roll.
James Hetfield, vocals, rhythm guitar, acoustic guitar, lead guitar on Nothing Else Matters. Kirk Hammett, lead guitar. Jason Newsted, bass. Lars Ulrich, drums, percussion. And Bob Rock, producer.
Also worthy of note, it was ubiquitous classical musician to the stars, Michael Kamen, who did the orchestral arrangements for the song Nothing Else Matters. R.I.P. Hetfield and Ulrich also do once again get production credits here, but unlike Flemming Rasmussen on And Justice for All, Bob Rock, a much more domineering studio presence, did not allow them to utterly clusterfuck the final mix. So that's nice. Anyhow, it's probably about time to address perhaps the Black Album's most notable trait relative to everything Metallica had previously done: the simplicity of the music. I'll let Lars explain.
About halfway through the Justice tour, I was sitting there playing these 9-minute songs thinking, why am I sitting here worrying about how perfect these 9-minute songs have to be? When we play stuff like Seek and Destroy or For Whom the Bell Tolls, and it has a great fucking vibe. I guess the point I'm trying to get across is that I used to be really concerned with the timing and lengths of a song when we were writing them. But this time I didn't even want to think about it.
The basic gist is that Metallica were re-engineering their sound for this album in an effort to be leaner, meaner, and more groove-oriented. This would be a lengthy and torturous process for the band, and most particularly for Ulrich, who needed to rework his entire approach to the drums for the new album. But all of Metallica's hard work eventually bore fruit. So what did that fruit sound like?
Track number 2, Sad But True.
Although only nominally less overplayed than Enter Sandman, second track, Sad But True, the fifth and final single released from the Black Album, excellently illustrates the new sound Metallica developed for this album. Slower, groovier, and a whole hell of a lot more straightforward than anything they had done since Kill 'Em All. This is Metallica as a muscular musical pile driver. Fun fact! When the band first demoed Sad But True, it was in the key of E. Producer Bob Rock realized that up to that point, every single song Metallica had brought to him for the album had also been in the key of E. And so he had the band tune down to D, which had the effect both of diversifying the assortment of musical keys found on the album, thank God, and also of making the principal riff for Sad But True that much heavier. John, now this is why we pay the producers the big bucks, no?
I mean, yes, but also, why were they only writing in E? Could they only play one chord progression?
No, it's a real epidemic, even great bands, because they fall in love with the open strings, and they fall in love with the lowest register of the guitar, because the lower the heavier. And so there's a real propensity to write songs, unless you're in a different tuning, in the key of E. That's one of my personal pet peeves. I love heavy metal, but it drives me a little bit bonkers when every single song is in the same key on an album. And it does happen. It really does happen. And that's the reason.
Yeah, that's very monotonous.
But on this album, we're 2 songs in, and thanks to Mr. Rock, we've got 2 different keys.
Oh, wow.
I know. Go team. Meanwhile, John, what did you think of Sad But True?
The bass is back, that's for sure.
Right? Thank God.
I think, yeah, heavy, right? And like slow, surprisingly slow for this band.
Oh, yeah. It's like revelatory how slow and chunky it is.
Yeah. It's a cool contrasting sound. It, again, with me and Metallica, I liked the early kind of thrashy, fast, hyper-aggressive stuff. So I'm not saying I don't like this, but it definitely shows that this is a band that has made a serious trajectory shift from where it started to where it is now.
That's absolutely true. I mean, so Metallica, a founding voice in thrash, are really also a founding voice in what's going to be called groove metal. Metal that really like sticks in a pocket and grooves, and whether it's slow or fast, it's just a different sound and a different attitude than that punk-informed thrash that came before. Now, like Enter Sandman, I think this is another very good song, which I could probably happily never, ever, ever listen to again, because I've heard it so many fucking times. But still, unlike Enter Sandman, maybe you, dear listener, who haven't heard this as many times. And if so, I think now is as good a time as any to get a sense of what Metallica sounded like in 1991 when they weren't playing Enter Sandman. Black Album listening break time. But wait! Maybe you're like me, and you have listened to the Black Album at least 46,000 times, but you still could use a nice listening break. I've got an alternative option for my fellow crusty old metal veterans out there. The B-side of the Sad But True single was Metallica's cover of So What, originally by the punk band Anti-Nowhere League. If you've ever wanted to hear James Hetfield shred his vocal cords while singing about how he fucked both a goat and a sheep, now is your chance. Either way, pause the podcast and click the link for either Sad But True or So What. John and I will be back with you on the other side. John, do you have any idea how many copies of the Black Album have been sold to date?
All right, so it's got to be more than 10. Um,
All right. Good, good.
let's see.
You want to go with the over on 10?
I'll take the over on 10 for sure. You want to give me a more reasonable number to take the over or under on?
All right. Well, let's see. We know that And Justice for All eventually goes 8 times platinum. So that would be, at least in America, 8 million copies. So let's say 10 million. Let's take the over or the under on 10 million. That's diamond certification.
We're talking about sold to date, not just like at time of release.
Yeah, that's correct.
Then I'll take the over on 10 million.
You win a Cupid doll!
Woo!
Because as of this recording, the Black Album has sold over 30 million copies.
That's a lot of copies.
Many copies. Many, many copies. As previously mentioned, the Black Album debuted at #1 on the Billboard charts, moving a rather extraordinary 598,000 units in just its first week of release. Of course, in order to do that, they had to first release the damn thing, which they did on August 21st, 1991. Following a challenging but productive 8 months in the studio, battling it out with Bob Rock and each other. We've begun to get a sense of what the album sounded like. Slower, simpler songs, much groove, a goodly amount of bass this time around. Yay! But my friend, we haven't yet talked about what it looked like. That's right, boys and girls. It's time for the final 4th season installment of everyone's favorite HM 101 segment. John looks at shit and tells us all about what he sees in this entirely oral medium. Jennifer, beloved podcasting icon, spread out digitally before you is the image of the cover of the Black Album, as designed by Rayner Design Consultants. Could you please, and I don't think this will be terribly challenging, describe it to us?
Okay, so there's a black square.
Now there's more. There is more. You got to put on your big boy eyes.
I'm going to Google this on my own outside of the context of this Word document you've sent me with a picture in it.
This was good. I looked long and hard for one that was visible, but not totally faked. Because this is really what it looked like, as opposed to, you see a lot of ones online where the elements on the cover are much more visible than they really were. So I tried to give you authenticity here.
So what you're saying is I'm not supposed to be able to read Metallica in the upper left-hand corner at an angle.
Not really. It's more of a texture than it is a visible thing. It's actually embossed.
Okay.
Okay, so you found one element, which is that it says Metallica.
Then in the bottom right corner, there's a snake.
Yes. Do you know where that snake comes from?
That particular snake?
That's the Gadsden flag snake.
Is that the Don't Tread on Me snake?
The famous or infamous Don't Tread on Me snake. Yes. Yes, indeedy. But I think what we've determined here is that it is indeed a Black Album.
I think he's right. There's something about this that's so black. It's like, how much more black could this be? And the answer is none. None more black.
All right. Let's now make an effort to be a bit more serious and rigorous about this track-by-track formatting approach we've set out upon.
Track number 3, Holier Than Thou.
As previously mentioned, this was quite nearly the album's opening track and lead single. Holier Than Thou is a catchy, solid, straight-ahead thrasher, and weighing in at just 3 minutes and 47 seconds, it is the shortest song on the album. I do like a short song, very much. John, what were your thoughts on Holier Than Thou?
Fine.
It's fast, more traditional Metallica-y.
It's faster. It's still not thrash fast. It's very heavy. A lot of the songs on this album, how do I say this? The heaviness that they have feels both darker and fatter than a lot of the earlier Metallica stuff that we've listened to so far.
Yeah, I think viscosity is a good metaphor. It's very thick music,
Sure.
and that's cool. I mean, that's heavy. It's just antithetical to what thrash was. It's a more derived from Black Sabbath than from Judas Priest kind of heaviness. Now, Holier Than Thou actually ended up as the only song on the album's first half that was not released as a single. So it's probably the most comparably anonymous track amongst that collection of 6 songs, but I think it's a good one. And it is a great pace changer following Sad But True.
Track number 4. Ballad the First. The Unforgiven. The Unforgiven. The Unforgiven. Unforgiven.
Metallica long had a thing for track number 4 ballads. On Ride the Lightning, it was Fade to Black. On Master of Puppets, it was Welcome Home, Sanitarium. And of course, on And Justice for All, it was the previously discussed One. This time around, we get The Unforgiven. I must confess, I have always been a sucker for a Metallica track number 4 ballad. I love all of the songs just mentioned, and The Unforgiven is no exception. It was a big hit for the band, both as a single and via its MTV video. It has a rather nifty reverse power ballad structure, featuring powerful, hefty verses and a comparably mellow chorus. It also has one of Kirk Hammett's best guitar solos going for it, which came into being as a result of Bob Rock actually calling Kirk out for his earlier efforts at the solo, and an enraged Kirk responding via the furiously improvisational glory of the solo we now have on record. Fantastic stuff. John, you're a monstrous person with no soul. What did you think of The Unforgiven?
I don't dislike this song, but the ballads just aren't for me.
Okay.
I do appreciate contrast, right? Like, I like that the album has ebbs and flows and there are different things, and so it's not just uniform, but it's not bad, just not doing anything special for me.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Well, I dubbed John Forgiven. Because he's my good pal. And also because I am not a dick who tries to break the wills of the people in my orbit. Like, for instance, the jerky antagonists found within this song. Fuck those people. Next.
Track number 5. Wherever I May Roam.
Okay, here is where I make my grand confession. John, I am not, fundamentally, a Black Album guy. It's a really good album. I like it a lot. And while it is the final Metallica album the band released to date, which is on my, quote, good Metallica albums list, it actually is my least favorite amongst their first 5 releases. You have, at this point, listened to a lot of that material. What are your thoughts about the Black Album's place within the early Metallica pantheon?
You are asking someone who is not qualified to answer this question. But clearly, from a societal point of view, this was hugely popular, which means it probably has to put it at the top of its place in the pantheon of early Metallica.
In a capitalist sense.
Yeah, sure. We live in America. Everything is motivated by money. From a musical point of view, I think you have been making the point that this seems to mark a new point from which they will not only transition into something else, but from which other genres of metal may emerge. So that's important if you like where they went. From just quality of album point of view, it's remarkably consistent. There's really only one song on this album that I did not like at all. Everything else was good. So, I think it's a pretty solid album, but I haven't listened to all of And Justice for All, and I like the thrash stuff. So if you were asking where I'd put it probably 2 or 3.
Fair. Look at you with your, dare I say, educated perspective on early Metallica. I'm so proud of you.
This is what I'm saying. I'm concerned that I'm learning and retaining things, and it's going to cause a problem for the future of this show.
I need to find a new useful idiot, is what you're saying?
Yeah, you're going to have to find a new idiot, or we're going to have to start talking about significantly worse music.
All right. I'm going to see what I can do. Look, all of that having been said, there really are some things I deeply love about this album, and one of those things is Wherever I May Roam. It is a certified grade A motherfucking banger. This song has vibes, and it is a perfect distillation of the slowed down, massive variety of heaviness the band was shooting for at this time. It's got a magnificent, catchy chorus, and one of my favorite moments in all of Metallica is when they extend that final chorus. Carved upon my stone, my body lie, but still I roam. That shit gives me chills every fucking time. John, what did you think of Wherever I May Roam?
The sitar solo, or electric sitar, as you informed me at the beginning of this, was bizarre and just kind of like took me out of the listening, because it was like, first 4 tracks, regardless of how you feel about them, all exist in a unified world, aurally speaking. And then suddenly sitar, which was just bizarre. But once the sitar went away, I liked this song. And it's not even that I disliked the sitar, it was just so different that it felt out of place.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like what you mentioned earlier. This album has ebbs and flows and sonic variety and stuff. And that, I think, is an example of just some sonic variety. Whether you like it or not, it just kind of perks your ears up and, something.
Right.
All right, I've got a few Wherever I May Roam fun facts. So this relates to what you just said. Number 1, James is the one who plays the, scare quotes, exotic opening on a choral electric sitar, which basically is actually just a normal guitar, which is designed to emulate the sound of a sitar. 2, Jason Newsted further enriched the texture by playing a 12-string Hamer mandocello, which is a hybrid bass/mandolin that is tuned like a cello. So I think those are some fun timbral twists to sort of make us sit up and take notice once we get to song number 5 on the album. Wherever I May Roam was the album's 4th single, released in October of 1992. While it only peaked at number 82 on the Billboard pop charts, like everything else from this album, it was, for a time, on MTV 24/7 in its music video form. Also, it apparently touched something deep in the Scandinavian soul, as the single hit number 2 in Denmark, Norway, and Finland. The Swedes, however, couldn't be bothered, as it only peaked at number 28 there. Regardless, it's a great song, and as such, I think it merits our final listening break of this season. So let's do that. John, this is a song about life on the road as a rock band. All the drugs and all the chicks a human being could possibly want. What could be more relatable to you and I?
Sure. Yeah, that's the life we lead.
Alrighty, friends. Pause the podcast, click the link, and get some premium Metallica into those ears just one more time before things start to get, to my mind, a touch more complicated as we investigate the back half of this immortal classic album. John and I will be right back.
Track number 6, Don't Tread on Me.
Oh, Metallica, Metallica, Metallica. What the fuck? The band who once wrote of wars.
Make his fight on the hill in the early day, constant chill deep inside, shouting gun on they run through the endless gray. Oh, they fight for the right, yes, but who's to say? For a hill men would kill. Why? They do not know. Stiffened wounds test their pride. Men of 5 still alive through the raging glow, gone insane from the pain that they surely know.
And
Soldier boy made of clay, now an empty shell. 21 only son, but he served us well. Bred to kill, not to care, do just as we say. Finished here, greetings death, he's yours to take away.
now have suddenly become Gadsden flag waving jingoistic America firsters?
Liberty or death, what we so proudly hail. Once you provoke her rattling of her tail, never begins it, never, but once enraged, never surrenders, showing the fangs of rage. Fuck you!
Yeah.
Fuck you! Fuck you!
You screwed it up. Just forget it never begins it. You got this.
Never begins it, but once engaged, never surrenders, showing the fangs of rage. I said don't tread on me.
Et tu, Metallica? Sheesh. That said, I do really like the opening musical quotation of America from Leonard Bernstein's West Side Story. That's pretty neat, no?
Yeah, I forgot this song happened. There might be 2 songs I don't like on this album.
Ah, yes. That idea was a Hetfield joint. Credit where credit is due. Still, while my reptilian brain doesn't totally hate this song, the rest of my mind kind of sort of does. Hetfield described it as a reaction to some of the very different lyrical content found on And Justice for All, saying,
This is the other side of that. America is a fucking good place. I definitely think that. And that feeling came about from touring a lot. You find out what you like about certain places, and you find out why you live in America. Even with all the bad, fucked up shit, it's still the most happening place to hang out.
Okay, buddy. Got it. Next!
Track number 7, Through the Never.
Wait! I think it's about time to speed this process up a bit. We've got places to meet, people to be. It's speed round time. We go quick and dirty for the remaining songs. You'll list the title. I'll say what I think. You say what you think, assuming that is that you do think. I've actually never been entirely certain. Ah! Okay. Speed round, go!
Track number 7, Through the Never.
Through the Never is another good thrasher, and, like Holier Than Thou before it, a welcome change of pace. Me likey. You?
Yeah, closer to that thrash Metallica that I enjoy, so good.
Yeah, it's probably the thrashiest song on the album. I do enjoy that.
Yes.
Next!
Track number 8, Ballad the Second, Nothing Else Matters.
This is Metallica's first true, unadulterated power ballad. And the last song on this album I wouldn't describe as forgettable. James Hetfield plays a beautiful guitar solo here. Kirk Hammett, incidentally, didn't play at all on the studio recording. We get Kamen's orchestration work here, which is lovely. It is a nice song, but I mostly remember it as the music video where Lars Ulrich is filmed throwing darts at a picture of Kip Winger. Punching down! It's a dick move. Your thoughts?
Still not here for the ballads.
Yeah, I mean, this is a ballady ballad, too. This one didn't do anything for you?
No. I mean, it's not, again, not bad, just not for me.
Okay.
Track number 9, Of Wolf and Man.
There's a reason that, on the few occasions Metallica have played this entire album live, they've always played it backwards. Sorry, Metallica superfans out there, but to my mind, the final chunk of the Black Album really isn't all that great. I still love you. Of Wolf and Man is heavy and fast, which I do like, but as a totality, it isn't a song that I especially care about. John, I assume it's your favorite song of all time or some such shit.
No, this was the other one on the album I really didn't like. Not necessarily because of the music, but because the words sound like they were written by a 12-year-old angsty incel.
I can see that. The lyrics are pretty dumb.
They're terrible.
Next!
Track number 10, The God That Failed.
Okay, not to get all inside baseball, but I cannot hear the opening bass riff and not think of Dawn Patrol by Megadeth from the vastly superior, and yes, I said vastly superior, 1990 Megadeth album, Rust in Peace. It really is strikingly similar. I actually do rather like this song, though I generally tend to forget it exists. To my mind, this is probably the best of these final 4 tracks. John, is there anything you'd like to share? Do you too find the resemblance between the openings of The God That Failed and Dawn Patrol slightly upsetting?
Have I listened to Dawn Patrol?
No, unless you did it without my awareness.
Then I do not find any correlation between these two songs, as I have no idea what the hell Dawn Patrol is. But I do like this opening bass line.
Yes, good, right?
Yeah.
It was better when it was Dawn Patrol by Megadeth. Next!
Track number 11, My Friend of Misery.
Jason Newsted gets a writing credit. He actually only got 3 during the entirety of his 15-year Metallica tenure. So that's important. My Friend of Misery was originally intended to be an instrumental, but they ended up giving it a lyric, and to my mind, kind of wasting Newsted's really awesome bass riff on a song that I think is pretty mediocre. It's also the longest song on the album, which doesn't do it any favors. John?
Yeah, to support your claim that the back half of this album isn't as good as the first half, I definitely was pretty tired of this album by the time we got to this point, and I have to agree with you. Great bass riff, kind of unremarkable song.
Alrighty then. Last and quite possibly least, we get track number 12, The Struggle Within. Now, the first time that Metallica performed this song live was in 2012, and they have only performed it a total of 20 times to date. To my mind, this is because it's bad and fairly forgettable. That's right, folks. In the opinion of your esteemed host, a heavy metal expert, or so I say, the uber iconic Black Album ends with a song that isn't particularly good. The proverbial wet fart, if you will. John, how about you? What are your thoughts on The Struggle Within?
It just sounds like a totally different, like it doesn't belong to this album. It sounds like a different band, a different type of music. It just doesn't fit in. I don't hate it as vehemently as you do. It just seems unbelievably out of place.
It's weird. I don't know. I'm not a Black Album hater. There's a lot of those out there. It's actually a pretty big thing. Obviously, there's a lot of lovers as well. But these last couple songs, and particularly The Struggle Within, yeah, I don't know. They're so forgettable. I mean, literally in that, unless I'm focusing on the album, I forget they exist. They're just not like in my long-term memory because they're just so uninteresting. Oh, well. So we don't love everything about this album, but we agree, I think, it's certainly an iconic work of popular sonic art. We agree there, John?
Yeah, I think that's kind of undeniable.
Yeah. Aside from selling over 30 million copies, the Black Album had, as of July of 2024, spent a whopping 750 weeks on the Billboard Top 200 chart. The only albums that have managed more chart time are Greatest Hits albums by Bob Marley and Journey, and Pink Floyd's The Dark Side of the Moon. John, if you were wondering, that is over 14 years spent among America's top 200 albums being sold at any given time. That's some pretty fucking impressive longevity, no?
It is. That's undeniable. That's numbers.
For serious. I'll note that Metallica's subsequent Wherever We May Roam tour supporting the album lasted for over a year, running from October of 1991 through December of 1992, and as we mentioned on our last episode, from July through October of 1992, it was a co-headlining tour with the other biggest metal band in the world at that time, Guns N' Roses. Elephants in the room, indeed. These bands were fucking massive, and rock music would never ever be quite as big again as it was in the halcyon days of Use Your Illusion and the Black Album. Now, it should be noted that I, for the record, saw Metallica twice on the Wherever We May Roam tour, both with and not with Guns N' Roses. And as such, it must be admitted, I'm something of a god amongst men, no?
No.
No?
No.
Huh.
Which was better, with or without Guns N' Roses?
They were actually really great shows. My problem with the Guns N' Roses part of that tour was they did a shift from set list, as you would expect, to starting to do something that they still do to this day somewhat, which is play medleys of their songs because they have so many hits.
Ew.
I mean,
Gross.
they were amazing both times. Metallica are really, really good live, but I didn't like the medley thing. I found that kind of irritating.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Well, regardless, those were great fucking shows. And speaking of great fucking shows, the 4th season of our great fucking show is rapidly reaching its endpoint. John, have you had fun this season or what?
You know, this has been a real up and down season for me. We've discussed some really great music and some really, really terrible shit.
Well, from the bottom of my heart, I just want to thank you for being such a delightful co host. You are the yin to my yang and the all important foil for my overwhelming enthusiasm. You're the bestest, good buddy.
Aw, thank you.
I also want to thank our beloved listeners and to again remind them, please consider supporting the show. You rate, you review, you share, you join our Patreon page. For the record, there will be all sorts of fun Patreon hijinks in the near future, including the very first HM 101 bonus episode resulting explicitly from a Patreon listener request. That's going to be on our regular feed for everyone to hear, but it's a Patreon listener request that brought it into being. Now, John, won't that be fun?
I am terrified that we are now taking suggestions from the public.
It's like a dream come true. Thanks again to all for making this yet another magnificently fun season at Heavy Metal 101. Keep your eyes and ears peeled for that summer bonus episode. Otherwise, John and I are going to be back this fall with bigger, better, beautifuler HM 101 season number 5 episodes for all the world to enjoy. We love you a lot. Now, John, this is the season finale, so I'm going to give you the last words. You have more than earned the privilege. What will those last words be?
Foment the revolution.